Ending a relationship with a narcissist is one of the hardest things any survivor should have to endure. Whether you left the narcissist, or they discarded you, it matters not. The trauma that you're left with is equally intense, and the aftermath is always a disaster zone. Narcissists never let their victims go easily, and will often perpetuate the abuse long after the relationship has ended. To them, if you were once a valuable source of supply, you will always be expected to hand over your life force energy, whenever they demand it. No doubt you've experienced some or all of the following: the narcissist trying to hoover you back into their abusive cycle. Further gaslighting, baiting, word salads and manipulations. Devastating smear campaigns and having your good name dragged through the mud. Damaging lies. Having to watch the narcissist move on with their new supply, while totally nullifying your very existence. Turning your friends and family against you. The real damage of narcissistic abuse often hits after you've been discarded, or have to flee for your own safety and survival. Every single day you find yourself battling with anxiety and complex PTSD from the relationship itself. Then there's the lack of closure, being totally disregarded, realizing that they never actually loved you, and a million other unanswered questions. To rub further salt into the wound, which is the narcissist's specialty, they will continue to harass, threaten, coerce and manipulate you, even after the relationship has ended. They will send you messages, ring your phone, drive by or show up at your house unannounced. They will use social media to keep effortlessly triggering you, while still coming across as a nice person or the poor victim, to keep up their public image. The triggers will be coming thick and fast. It's all you can do to hold yourself together, and survive the bare minimum of what is required of each day. Then, all of a sudden, the narcissist leaves you alone. Just like that, they've gone from an all-consuming obsessed ex, in the most toxic of ways, to radio silence. Where does that leave you? You would think you'd be jumping for joy, and clinking cocktails with your friends, in celebration of your newfound freedom. However, when there is deep trauma and abuse involved, things aren't so black and white. It's totally normal, when a narcissist leaves you alone, to yearn for them and feel extremely empty once they are gone. Even though it's exactly what you've been wishing for, when it finally happens it can come as a blow. This is when you can easily forget about all of the abuse that the narcissist inflicted upon you, while your mind selectively highlights many of the good times that you had instead. It's easy to slip into thoughts of, were they really that bad? Maybe I've overreacted and made half of this stuff up. It's easy to mistake this empty feeling for love, or think that you miss the narcissist. However, I'm here to tell you that love has nothing to do with it. Firstly, the narcissist has left you with their empty black hole. During the relationship with the narcissist, they actively dumped all of their unhealed wounds onto you. They presented them to you in such a way that you genuinely thought they must have been your own wounds, so you willingly accepted them. You see, long ago, the narcissist experienced some type of trauma, which caused them to feel unworthy, shameful and broken. However, they did not want to feel any of those things, so they cast out the true self, in order to self-avoid in the most severe way. Without their true self, their ego was left to reign. But, since there is nothing real or authentic about the ego, it had to create a false self in order to get its needs met. For the ego to stay in full control, it needs to keep the narcissist from the truth, that they are a flawed human being, just like the rest of us. However, the narcissist's false self utterly refuses to see that truth. Now the narcissist is left with a gaping black hole inside, where the true self used to reside. What that empty void feels like to the narcissist is self-loathing, disgust, resentment, despair and hatred. To avoid having to acknowledge the truth of who they really are, the narcissist is on a constant hunt for supply. Life force energy is the only thing that will grant the narcissist a temporary reprieve from their own darkness. Of course, no one in their right mind is going to just hand over their precious life force to an empty dark soul. So, the narcissist needs to manipulate, coerce, bully and force it from others, for them to get their hands on it. Narcissists are energetic vampires without a conscience. They need to suck life force energy from whole beings in order to survive. Since the narcissist cut off access to the divine creator, their ego is now their master. The narcissist now believes that they are a god, because there is nothing else that sits above them. Their ego has created an entire false universe, whereby they are the center. Therefore, They believe that everyone and everything else in their world is placed there for them to use as they see fit. The narcissist's whole life purpose is to consume the life force energy of others to psychologically survive. Consequently, they can only ever see other people as tools to help them obtain that supply. Narcissists treat other people horrendously, and can justify their behavior until they're blue in the face. Their gaslighting, guilt trips, word salads, blame shifting and projections are relentless. Throughout your relationship with the narcissist, your self-worth was attacked, and you were psychologically manipulated, until you were too exhausted to keep fighting. Energetically, the narcissist was not only sucking out your life force energy through every exchange, but they were also dumping the garbage onto you, so that they didn't have to carry it. Even though you were not consciously aware of it, when you took on the unhealed wounds of the narcissist, they were able to go off and be free of them. However, you were left standing there with a backpack full of their bricks, which you then had to carry around all by yourself. Have you ever wondered why you'd often feel drained after an exchange with the narcissist, yet they'd be skipping off into the day feeling great? It's because they'd just unloaded their wounds onto you. When we take on the energy that the narcissist is throwing at us, we end up carrying their black hole for them. The craziest thing is, when we continue to ruminate and feel the pain of all the terrible things that they've done, we are actually protecting them from their own karma. Think of it like this. Everything in the universe is energy. If a narcissist doesn't want to feel their own negative energy or wounds, they may choose to project that energy onto somebody else. That other person can either accept or reject that energy. If they accept it, then the narcissist is no longer burdened by that energy. However, if the other person rejects it, the energy goes back to the narcissist for them to deal with. Sure, the narcissist will just find another empathetic sucker, who they can prey on to dump their black hole onto. But that will be that person's lesson to learn, which is none of your business. We can never control what someone else does or doesn't do. We can only ever control ourselves. The ultimate in self-worth is being 100% responsible for yourself, and allowing others to be 100% responsible for themselves, while lovingly allowing them to take their own journey. If you feel an empty black hole inside of you, once the narcissist leaves you alone, you are most likely still carrying their emptiness. The solution is to take all of your energy and attention off the narcissist, and fully focus on healing your own wounds and traumas. From there, the narcissist will naturally become irrelevant, and their psychic connection to your life force will be severed. All of the narcissist's unhealed wounds that you are still carrying will be energetically sent back to themselves to deal with. Secondly, you're still dealing with the trauma bond. One of the main reasons for that feeling of yearning, when the narcissist leaves you alone for good, is due to the trauma bond. A trauma bond is where a victim of abuse feels connected to their abuser on an emotional level. They will feel a sense of loyalty to the very person who exploited them. The trauma bond is created intentionally and slowly over time, through intermittent punishments and rewards. Intermittent reinforcement. The narcissist will berate, devalue, gaslight, rage, and stonewall their victim when they are unhappy with their behavior. Then they will often issue a heavy silent treatment. Their victim is left in a heightened state of anxiety, and their nervous system is fried. They're walking on eggshells, because the precarious position that the narcissist has left them in feels torturous. Then the narcissist will come in and randomly deliver a reward. This could be simply the ending of the silent treatment, or it could come as attention, flattery, generosity, or gifts. The victim will feel such immense relief at the punishment being over, that they will be flooded with a rush of the body's feel-good chemicals, like dopamine and serotonin. The narcissist purposely keeps their victim hanging out, waiting to receive the reprieve that they are so desperately seeking. By this point, the narcissist well and truly knows how to control you on an emotional level, and they love it. The addiction. Being in a relationship with an abuser, who randomly punishes and rewards, ends up keeping you in a perpetual state of wanting to please the narcissist. You're constantly in the anxious energy of not wanting to cause the narcissist to aimlessly punish you. Plus, you're always hanging on to the hope of receiving random acts of kindness, which are withheld from you as a form of control and manipulation. The issuing of intermittent punishments, which are then backed up by spontaneous rewards, creates an addiction. The narcissist intentionally got you addicted to their behavior, without you ever realizing what was happening. Your body becomes addicted to the roller coaster of a relationship, where you're riding the chemical highs and lows. Heartbreakingly, as time goes on, the lows get lower and you don't end up needing so much to gain relief. At the beginning of the relationship, you may have been receiving flowers or intoxicating affection as the reward. But as time wore on, the reward was just that the narcissist started talking to you again, and pretended as if nothing had happened. You feel so incredibly relieved at being granted communication by them, that your body releases the feel-good chemicals, and you gain your relief. As a knock-on effect, you don't want to approach the narcissist about the cruel behavior, because you're fearful of being thrown straight back down into the punishment dungeon. So, you go along and pretend like everything's okay, just to keep the peace for as long as you can. Which means that the narcissist just got away with their abuse. After it's all said and done, the narcissist actually needed you, not the other way around. That's why they had to fabricate an inverted relationship dynamic, with the illusion of you needing them, all so that you'd never cotton on to the truth. And they resent you for that. The narcissist needed to keep you in that cycle, so that they could control you and hold you in place, to be a steady source of supply for them. The trauma bond beyond the relationship. The trauma bond that was created by the narcissist throughout the relationship doesn't just disappear when they walk out the door. It's a deep program that needs to be released. How the trauma bond can manifest when the narcissist leaves you alone for good. Guilt. You may feel guilty for not chasing them or extending yourself to them. Fear. You will probably be afraid of what the narcissist will say or do next. Yearning. You might even yearn for the narcissist and feel like you miss them. The most important thing at this stage in the game is to not reach out to the narcissist. Your body will be craving the relief that it was so used to receiving, every time the narcissist went cold towards you throughout the relationship. Whether you feel like ringing them crying, sending a heartfelt message, or demanding some closure, please realize that all of those things will just further feed the narcissist with supply. They will not sympathize with you because they simply do not care. But your attention towards them will make them feel extremely important, and validate for them that they can still control your emotions. It's time for you now to unhook yourself and heal. Like any addiction, the initial shock of losing the drug will be uncomfortable. Go easy on yourself, and remember that it will only be a short while until the initial intense pain subsides. Go into your cave, cry, howl, hide under the blankets, and allow the despair, sadness and pain to flow out of your body. Now it's time to realize your freedom. By now, you may be having some fantastic moments where you are recognizing how free you are, without the narcissist in your life. No longer do you have to live in an endless state of anxiety. No longer do you have to hand your life force energy over to a dark soul. No longer do you have to sacrifice your own needs and desires for someone who can only ever love themselves. No longer do you have someone breathing down your neck or completely devaluing your existence. However, you'll probably also find that the complex PTSD and triggers will often increase as more time passes, if you're not doing the healing work. You might get to the point where you think, why do I feel like I'm getting worse rather than better? If that's the case, it's time to see a therapist or energetic healer, to work on releasing the trauma that's still stuck in your body. The lesson behind narcissistic relationships is for us to see just how dangerous it is to hand our power away to others. What the narcissist preyed on was the fact that you were seeking love, validation, security, and survival outside of yourself. As you heal up your traumas, you will materialize stronger and clearer into your true, authentic, sovereign self. Never again will a narcissist be able to manipulate and control your energy or emotions. For more on narcissism, head to unmaskingthenarc.com.